All right, hey, good morning, folks. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Today is Sunday, July 3rd, 2022. This is your daily tropical update. Another video here this morning, but we are looking at a much more quiet Atlantic basin on your Sunday. We had a couple active storms yesterday. We had Bonnie and Colin, as Colin formed off the South Carolina coast, and Bonnie we'd been watching for several days prior. Both those systems have gotten out of the basin. Colin dissipated near the coast of North Carolina this morning at 5 a.m. The Hurricane Center killed this one off. And Bonnie has made her voyage into the Eastern Pacific, only the second storm since the year 2000 to cross Central America from the Atlantic side and hold together. So interesting tidbit there. Bonnie's blowing up as she moves away. And the Atlantic Basin is quiet. Hurricane Center not tracking any activity today. No waves to mention. The little wave near Hispaniola is not going to develop due to unfavorable conditions. Again, Colin killed off and Bonnie out of the basin. So it is a nice quiet day here. We'll take a quick look at Colin's remnants here off the coast of North Carolina. All the heavy weather associated with what was Colin this morning is moving offshore and away. The vortex of the system just kind of stayed on shore too long and just kind of dissipated. And this is just kind of like the leftovers of all that. And this will move offshore today, and it looks like overall not a bad day here in the Carolinas, at least this morning. We'll probably see some thunderstorms this afternoon with this more tropical air mass, but hey, it is what it is right now. And again, other than that, the Atlantic Basin is pretty quiet. We go over to the Eastern Pacific Basin, where again Tropical Storm Bonnie has moved through. 60-mile-an-hour winds this morning. This thing is blowing up on the satellite. This thunderstorm activity is absolutely outrageous. Like, this is just crazy, crazy cloud tops from Bonnie this morning. So a intensification phase, no doubt, underway. This was well forecast, but wow, those are some impressive thunderstorm tops. I mean, good lord. True color satellite shows a little bit better. You can see the rotation here, center of the storm somewhere right here, and on this western flank, a lot of heavy thunderstorm activity. Bonnie's likely taking advantage of some warm water down there. The waters aren't as warm as I kind of thought they were. They've been kind of lulled a little bit by the activity so far this season, and the warm water depth isn't very high yet, but it's got enough apparently to be doing something. So Bonnie going to move off to the west over the next few days. This tracks well with the forecast guidance and the National Hurricane Center track. Does expect it to become a hurricane sooner than later, but will stay offshore throughout the week. So we'll be watching this all week, but it won't be any significant threat to any land interests. And intensity models do expect this to get to at least Category 1 or Category 2 intensity. Could graze Category 3, would be our first major hurricane in either basin for the season, um, Eastern Pacific or Atlantic. But other than that, not much really else to talk about with Bonnie. It'll be out there just being a fish storm. The only other active system today in any tropical basin is Tropical Depression Aere in the western Pacific. This is near the islands of Japan. Very weak system, only 30 knots, about 40 miles an hour, and it looks like it's on the downturn, or slowly will weaken over the next couple days, bring some heavy rain to Japan, but no impacts, no like major impacts expected with this one. And other than that, your tropics are quiet today. So let's talk a little bit about the forecast to come for July in the Atlantic basin as we take a look back at the basin again. We are looking at what's likely going to be a suppressed phase for the next week or two. The typical ebb and flow of the hurricane season goes along with how the background state of the atmosphere behaves. And one of the ways we measure this is the MJO index. This is a tweet here this morning by Mike Ventress talking about. He's a pretty renowned for his MJO expertise, and basically it's a global atmospheric circulation that just moves around the globe slowly, and when it's in a favorable phase for you, it causes air to rise easier, and it often will be the culprit for more tropical activity, or it'll help storms form a lot easier. We just saw that outburst where we saw Colin and Bonnie. And you ever notice in hurricane seasons how stuff pops up all the time? Like, you'll have a week or two where everything's just popping off, and then it's like dead for a week or so, and then it pops back off. The MJO can have an influence on that. And for the next 2 or 3 weeks, it looks like most of the suppressed activity will be over the Atlantic Basin, which means the next week or two, likely any system out there, any tropical wave or frontal boundary is going to struggle to some degree to form. The MJO doesn't completely shut off activity, but it also does help suppress it to where it's less likely. Like something like Colin wouldn't have probably formed if the MJO was in a real suppressed phase. So those are the kind of things we talk about. It can help enhance or suppress depending on how it's positioned. And the next couple of weeks is going to be positioned more over the Western Pacific, where it looks like that will be the basin to watch going forward for some more activity, while the Eastern Pacific and the Atlantic probably are in a more quiet phase. This matches up well with NOAA's 2-week hazards going into middle of July, not forecasting any significant tropical activity and no major stuff. As we look into mid-July, we are going to see a pattern flip a little bit. This is set for about July 13th, about middle of the month. You're going to have this really strong ridge building over the western U.S. and this trough over the eastern U.S. And this trough is going to be, is going to be bringing down some cold fronts, bringing down some thunderstorm complexes potentially. So we will have to start watching that, middle of the month, see if any fronts or anything hang up along the Gulf Coast or off the coast of Florida, or we have like a thunderstorm complex rotate out and down. Those are all common July tropical weather patterns that can produce tropical storms. Those homegrown things we have to watch. But in the short term, it does not appear there's any active threats, and it's pretty quiet right now, basically. So we're going to look into that for the next week or so. Going to be pretty quiet in the Atlantic, and then I think mid-July it could start picking up, and then it looks like the MJO probably fully rotates back for August, and that's all right about the climatological ramp up of the season. I always tell y'all, mid-August, mid-October, that's the bulk, the heart of your hurricane season, and I think that we're looking at a potential lineup for a pretty active August and September. So definitely don't sleep on it in the next week or so, even though it's going to be quiet. It can pick back up fast, and when it does, it might be go time. So that's what I got for you guys today on your tropical update. If you want to follow along on Redbeard's weather page on Facebook, we'll have daily updates, even though there's nothing going on. But if you're watching on YouTube, then we will see you next time trouble is afoot. So until then, guys, thanks for watching, and have a good one.